Throat cleared, but not all the roads. But anyway, hi, welcome back to Mary, Wieden, and You. Yeah, we were just here a few days ago. But speaking of roads, I do want to say that there was a terrible thing at Ridgewood and Meadowbrook where an 18-wheeler, or as some people call it, 18-wheeler, ran into a pole and brought down power lines all over the place, and it was a mess. And workers were out there till I don't know how late. This morning I saw that on one of the TV stations that there are just some barricades up there, and people were dumb enough to drive through there, which is so stupid. You don't know if there are live wires down there. Don't be so stupid.
Surprise me.
Honestly, yeah, there's the voice of somebody who knows, and you're going to meet him in a minute. That's a news item. There's a big news item coming up tomorrow, well, in the middle of the night anyway. We change our clock, spring forward. And I do that on Saturday day and get used to it so that when I go to bed Saturday night, I wake up Sunday morning, I don't have to go around changing clocks. When it's the other way around in the fall, you can wait and you can get that extra hour. But when it's this way, when it's forward, just change your clocks on Saturday. So what? Everybody's going to be a little bit, the times are going to be a little bit different. You have to compensate for a few hours. But anyway, the other thing is that I guess I'm kind of calling them the Three Musketeers. Chokwe Lumumba, yes, Councilman Bass, and the DA are all headed to court today at 10 o'clock this morning. They're going to have some kind of a hearing, but who knows what it is. It's a conference, really, more than anything. They've not set a trial date. In fact, the story from WLBT is that for the first time since November, all three of these people indicted in this bribery scheme will appear before District Judge Daniel Jordan at the federal courthouse in downtown Jackson. It's the first time they've gotten together since they all pled guilty in the fall, all in connection with accepting bribes in exchange for their support to bring a convention center hotel to Jackson across the street from the convention center. Lumumba allegedly accepted the bribes in the form of 5 $10,000 checks cloaked as campaign contributions. So anyway, initially they were going to go to trial in January, but attorneys got that continued. They have not set a court date. Maybe they'll do that today, but that'll be updated, I'm sure, because all the people are going to go down there. The media types are going to go down there with their cameras and try and get as much as they can. So that's what's going on in our fair area this morning. And sitting here before me is Representative Fred Shanks. He wants to be called Mayor Fred Shanks, Mayor of Brandon. Welcome. Glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, glad to be here, Mary.
Well, I'm sure 5,000 people have said, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to give up a pretty cushy job being in the legislature and for something that's going to be 24/7 and it's going to be things like everything from police cars that's got flat tires to who knows. I hope you don't have a big crime rate, but nevertheless, things do happen. And you have to be 24/7. I mean, you've got to be sort of as a representative, but when it comes to being the mayor, it's nonstop. You ready for that?
I am.
Is there something wrong with you?
Probably. Well, I'm already in the legislature, so I think the question is yes on that. I have a real sense to serve. I enjoy working with people, and I enjoy helping people. Right now, as you and I were kind of talking about off air, being in the legislature, you don't really have a big staff, right?
I thought you did. I thought you had
I mean, if you're a chairman, which I'm a chairman, you do have a committee assistant that can help you. But other than that, you're kind of on your own as far as helping people. And I've been able to help a lot of people. And so my thoughts are, as a mayor, you've got a full-time staff, you've got city employees, which I would like to build a team, and in my view, I could help even more people that way, and really help the city employee as well. I'm really easy to work with, and just
who says that?
I've had my colleagues. Being the rules chairman, I have to work with everybody in the house, on both sides, and I've done really well at that. I've kind of streamlined how the rules committee works, and I've had people hug me. I've had my colleagues hug me.
Oh my goodness! Well, how much money do they expect you to give them? What are they looking for?
But I've just been able to accomplish a lot of good things. Been able to work with a lot of people, and it's something I really enjoy doing. Like, I don't mind phone calls and things. I like to take care of my people.
Okay. Well, we should mention, folks, if you don't know, Fred Shanks' dad was Doug Shanks, who did an awful lot in the field of sports. He did a lot for Rankin County. He was the originator of what is now Hartfield Academy. It used to be called UCS, University
Correct.
Christian School, and everything. And unfortunately, you lost him. I'm sorry. How y'all getting along without him?
Oh, it's been tough. Every week I'm at the Capitol. If I talk to somebody new who doesn't know me and they hear my name, I'm not kidding. The first thing they ask, like, Shanks, is
the Jackson 96ers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. I mean, I get it every week. And, of course, my dad was a city commissioner in Jackson. It was 50 years ago.
Yes, he was.
But yeah, I get it every week. They're like, "Who's your dad?"
Who was your daddy?
Yep. So
that's cool. Well, he's been on the show. He and Vincent Venturini did a book about South Jackson, and they were on the show together. And then one time your dad came on by himself. I can't remember what we were talking about. Probably more of that kind of stuff.
Probably so.
But very interesting historical perspective on things.
Yeah. Well, it was really nice to obviously we've had our situations with the city of Jackson and the legislature, and then the water crisis hit. So it was really neat to talk to him about situations, so long ago, and how they could have been fixed, and kind of his thoughts on what should be done. And I was on a committee this off season. I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but we called it. I called it the Save Jackson Committee. We met with the mayor. We met with Ted Hennepin, who's doing the water, and talked about blighted properties and all these, really to try to help Jackson. And it was really nice to have him to bounce all those ideas off somebody who's been there and done that, kind of knows how it works. So how's
the infrastructure in Brandon?
It's doing well. It's doing well.
What do you need most by way of roads, streets, and stuff like that? What do you need?
Yeah. Primarily that's what I do as far as getting money. I brought in tens of millions of dollars to the city throughout my legislative career for different road projects, things like that.
But you think you're in pretty good shape? I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to Brandon in a while, but
it's always ongoing. I mean, we've got to do some work. It's more of an MDOT project, but we've got to do some work on Highway 80 and
Highway 80. I mean, Highway 80 rules. You just got to say that. I mean, it rules Brandon.
As you come through downtown Brandon, I mean, we're a little locked. The buildings are pretty close to the street.
Oh yeah, right. Yes, the immediate downtown
by the monument. Yeah, yes. and there's only so much you can do right there. So in the past we've got some streets that kind of try to get traffic out of there.
How about heading west down Highway 80 to the 54, as the police department calls it, to, it has many names, including now the East Metro Parkway. But so how's that? That is so developed and getting more and more developed.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. That whole area, we're talking about doing a flyover bridge over the railroad tracks where the Pepsi plant is. Of course, that's a little ways away. And then we're also talking about doing expanding Highway 18. Yeah, 4-lane in it. It was built originally. It was built that way to expand, and it's taken a lot of time. It's going to take a tremendous amount of money, and of course, we've got to get it from our congressman as well.
Well, when you go down, folks, if you don't know Brandon, I don't know it well, but I know how some of the big streets I have to use. But anyway, so if you take the Metro Parkway and it becomes Crossgates Boulevard, and it goes on down to the Honda Place, and then it breaks off and goes down as 18, I guess.
Yes,
is that right? Goes down 18 and past the high school when you get there, but there's so much land on either side. It's like, I see, this is so, but I see it as a skating rink opportunity, as a mall, some mall opportunity. I see it as so many opportunities, whether it's commercial or residential. So do you have any plans for that beautiful body of land on either side?
The last thing that was really talked about through there was doing a farmer's market through Andy Gibson's office. Not quite sure where that is at the moment. I went to several meetings on that. There were some drawings rendered and, kind of setting it up like a town, right? And that have multiple storefronts there. It was a really neat idea.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But, I hadn't heard much about that lately, but that was kind of one of the last things that I'd heard kind of in that area.
Well, do you see Brandon as, I would imagine that Flowood would be your biggest competitor in terms of commercial development anyway.
Yeah, well, Pearl's doing really well, too.
Doing well, and they're right next door, but it seems like Flowood's a little bit bigger with bigger stores and stuff.
Yeah.
But do you think Brandon needs more commercial development or more residential development?
Well, a little bit of both. I think Brandon was always a bedroom community of Jackson. I'm obviously from South Jackson, and we moved over with some other family members all about the same time in the early 90s. And, I think that it has naturally grown.
Yeah, it didn't used to be separated by a sign, but now it is.
Yeah, but I think it needs both. The people the residents that I talk to, they all want more restaurants. They want a hotel. You don't have any hotels, do you? We have a couple, but
small. But I was thinking about the Refuge, but that's not you. That's Flowood,
correct,
I guess.
Correct.
That's close by. But you want some, and I'm amazed that Flowood has all these hotels. By the way, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
That's because I've lived out at the reservoir since the late 1980s, and there wasn't anything out there.
That's right.
In fact, that corner at Lakeland and Old Fannin was, there was a farm it was all farmland, and that was owned by Mr. Hogue, I guess, who lived up on a hill, which is probably Oak Ridge by now. But anyway, there was nothing out there. And then all of a sudden, boom, when you come up from town at night, you just see you come up Lakeland, and there's this spot where you're kind of on a hill, and you see all these lights like, oh, my Lord, what happened here? But and it has been a big commercial strip, popular, although now I think they need some problems, but that's not for this show. But but they've got available opportunities that nothing has happened there. So I'm wondering, is it going to happen in Brandon? Maybe.
Well, there's certainly talks. There's a couple of economic development plans that are being discussed, and one of them's coming to fruition. But yeah,
what's that one about the bridge over by your Home Depot? That's the one you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna. Well, that's a different one. But yeah, there's going to be ultimately it's going to be a bridge about where the Pepsi plant is. That's going to come over the railroad tracks about in the Home Depot area. If people there, and it's going to because it gets real congested
near
there.
Value Road.
Yeah.
Yes. I know that one well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, that'll help alleviate traffic. And if you're coming from the Puckett area down Highway 18 and you're trying to get on the interstate, you can in the morning, come through Brandon, which gets pretty jammed up, or you can come by kind of the Home Depot area. And again, if a train comes through, which inevitably it's going to come through at 7:59, when you're trying to get to work, it gets very congested just trying to get on the interstate. So yeah, it's a problem, and we're certainly trying to alleviate that.
What's your population?
I think it's around 23,000, 24,000.
Oh, that's all? I would think it'd be a whole lot more than that. Because I know you got a lot of, I don't know the names of them, but not ambiance. You got that stuff. Well, that's not you, though.
No, we have ambiance. We have that.
471, but down south of Lewis Wilson and all that, down in there someplace, there's some subdivisions.
Yeah, we have the largest neighborhood. Now, from what I understand, one of the largest neighborhoods in the country is Crossgates.
Well,
yeah, it's 1,000 acres.
Yeah, it's been there.
Yeah, it's been there long. It actually it was going to try to incorporate itself. I think back in the early 80s.
Oh,
yeah.
My goodness. Well, they would have competition from Castlewoods, I'm sure, because Castlewoods is coming down that way.
Yeah.
I would think, that they're coming down that way. So what's your situation with your police department, police and fire? How you got enough people? No, nobody ever has enough people, but do you have... You'd like to see them expand, I'm sure, as you grow. Yeah. They have to grow, but how are they doing now, in your opinion?
I do have a little experience. I'm a reserve police officer at Brandon, or where I was, and I was at the sheriff's department prior to that. And then my twin brother, who's assistant chief at Capitol Police, he worked there as well. And I got many friends at the police department. And we need more officers. We're
How much are you paying a starting officer?
It's been bumped up. I want to say it's close to it's in the high 40s.
Oh, high 40s, really. Yeah. JPD just got a raise where they're at 40 for starting, which
it's not
that's gargantuan from that. Well, it's holding them down. I think Chief Wade is holding them down.
Yeah. I like Chief Wade. I've been in several meetings with him. I like him, and I think the best thing there is to get some new leadership within the city. To help him.
There's multiple reasons on that.
Yeah. But he's, from what I understand, he's a pretty good guy, and I've enjoyed meeting with him.
He is.
But as far as Brandon's concerned, I want to, I'd like to get another fire truck in. I'm kind of working on trying to get some money for that currently, and but just to expand public safety, that's top 3 in my list.
If you'd like to speak with Fred Shanks, who's running for mayor of Brandon, you can call him at 888-808-8637. You can text him at 601-879-4395. That's 601-879-4395. And if you want to see what he looks like and what I look like, too, we're live streaming supertalk.fm/Mary, and you can see us up there. So how about that? Tell me about... money for you. How much money does the mayor's office pay compared to how much you can make? Because you're a public official. It's not nice to ask private people how much money you make, but when you're a public official, hey, the door is open. So compare your money
our salary.
Your salary in the legislature, which can vary depending on committee meetings and stuff like that. But generally,
so how the legislature works is it's people think that we have this big bag of cash and we just all hand it out around the chamber and smoke cigars and drink whiskey and take. If you're stealing in the legislature, I don't know how you're doing it. You get paid $10,000 for the session, right? So the session's January, February, and March. Or if it's the first year of a term, it's 4 months to give, if you do have a new administration in, to give them a little time to set their office up. And then you get a per diem during, the
you got
day.
That, yes.
But
how much is that a day per diem?
It depends on how far away you are.
Okay. Like you're not very far away, but if somebody's up in Senatobia or something like that.
I think the highest paid House member is from Tishomingo, strictly because he's basically in Tennessee. But it's for a lot of people. It really can cost money to be there, either with your time or your expenses or things like that.
You got to have a place to stay.
I'm lucky. I'm obviously in Brandon, so I'm like 10-15 minutes down the road. But if you're so when we come in on Monday, we come in at 4:00, which is people think, well, that's kind of strange. Well, that gives everybody time from the coast and from North Mississippi to get there. And then we work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Friday we'll normally come in at 9. Kind of meet pretty quickly to everybody can get home.
I always call that one pray and pay and go. That was Fridays. That's basically what happens. But so how much? But you also, if you have committee meetings, committee hearings, things like that, you're paid per diems.
Well,
on that
you get like an extra day if you're vice chairman, and then you get an extra a second day if you're a chairman. So I think all in is probably 40.
You get about 40.
Yeah.
And how much does the mayor's office pay in Brandon?
Last I heard, I think it's about 115.
Whoa, that's a little increase in pay there. By the way, I would be remiss if I didn't express regrets. I knew who Robert Clark was. I didn't know him personally, but Robert Clark died this past week. His body's going to lie in state, I think, Sunday from noon to 4 at the state capitol. And he was the first black since Reconstruction to be elected to the legislature. And he rose to become
pro tem.
Pro tem, yes. And by the way, there are people in this market, and I haven't heard him do it this time, who will say pro tempore.
Yeah.
No, the words pro tem or pro tempore.
Yeah.
Or
right.
English, British is tempore.
Yeah.
But in American English is pro tempore.
Yeah.
But if they know how to pro tempore, make it.
Yeah, Mr. Clark was a legend, and I'm the Rules Committee chairman, and my vice chairman is Bryant Clark, which is his son.
Oh.
And I tell you, Bryant is probably one of the sharpest people we have in the legislature.
Hold the thought, because we're taking a break here. We'll be back after the break. It's Mary Wieden and you, and this is Fred Shanks. He wants to be the mayor of Brandon. We'll be right back. I've got Fred Shanks here in the studio. He's a state representative, but he wants to be the mayor of Brandon for a number of reasons. It's your hometown anyway.
That's right.
It became your hometown. So, and I've got from people, somebody named William. This is a text message here. It says, regarding Government Street in Brandon, who is responsible for road maintenance, MDOT or the city, and are there plans to 4-lane from Highway 471 to the I-20 overpass? Eastbound government in front of Penn's Noel Daniels is getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
well, that's a lot of stuff loaded in there. But anyway, so let's talk about 80.
It's MDOT, but there are plans. There are plans to from that intersection he's talking about going down the hill to that. Yeah, there are plans on redoing that. It's the last I had talked to MDOT, they were working the schematics of it, and man, I hate it. It's just a long process, and I live real close to there, so I want it as bad as anybody, and certainly be pushing to do that as as quick as possible. And at one time they were talking about that little intersection at 471 and 80, putting in a turn lane, and I'm just not quite sure why that never took off like
because it's so small. I mean, if you come down, you're on old 471 when you get down there, right? I know that one.
And the road constantly gets torn up, and there's a lot of big trucks coming through there. And I'm with you.
That's an odd little spot too, right in front of Corbett's. And,
yes,
I love
right
Corbett.
near
That's
Value.
That's like a little dip.
Yeah.
And then you've got the back road through there, and it's always kind of an interesting little spot.
It is.
I didn't know if you could still use Value Road, and I was down there not so long ago. I had met some, I guess that's the day that my friend, the skating director, came up to check out the skating rink. And so went home from McAllister's, and I went that way. I thought, well, I guess I can use Value Road.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to figure out, well, does this hook up to the old 471 or the new 471?
It kind of throws you off a little bit.
A little bit, but I followed my way, and everything was fine. But that's the new part isn't very nice.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of it.
Oh yeah. One thing, the behind was it Miller's Crossing? Is that the neighborhood right there? Or,
Spears Crossing.
Spears. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's so many roads that are back there behind all of that.
Oh yeah.
The parkways, and it connects all the way back out toward like you're going to Puckett maybe. Or Pelahatchie, which one is it? Where you can
Pelahatchie's on 80 and Puckett is on 18.
You go down Government and you get out of town, you're heading out that way, and those roads kind of tie back in, and it's opened up that whole back area back behind Spears Crossing. I got kind of turned around back in there.
Oh yeah. Well, ultimately you're going to have a road from Highway 80 all the way to 471. kind of where our co-op is, the Rankin County Co-op.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've never been into Spears. I've just been past the sign. It's a little sign now. It
Very
seems to
nice
be-
neighborhood.
But apparently, it's very large back in there.
Oh yeah, very nice
no
neighborhood.
idea.
And then there's a very, very large, probably I think our second largest neighborhood called Cornerstone back there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit off 471, but they got a lake and clubhouse, really, really nice area, and it hooks in, from 471, and it's really large, and it'll hook in. Ultimately, it's going to hook into Highway 80.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
Nobody knows when. Well, so that's an MDOT deal.
That one's
a
not.
co-op.
That one's not. But that Highway 80 intersection that we were just talking about
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Well, Highway 80 goes all the way to, I think, California, maybe. I mean, you can take Highway 80. You can go. Certainly you can go to Texas, but I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
can keep on going from there. It's not just a local road, folks.
Yeah. It used to be your only way to get
Yes,
to
really.
Louisiana.
Oh my Lord, that must have been torturous.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to do that?
No,
Well, you mean
no.
you can do it? You can make it a nice scenic trip nowadays.
My old boss, I worked at Brandon Discount Drugs for almost 30 years, and he went to pharmacy school in Louisiana. And of course, he would always tell me those stories of taking Highway 80 all the way to over to college. So,
By the way, when Robert Graham was on a few weeks ago, because he was with the chamber on that visit, he was talking about the history of Brandon.
Yeah.
And do you know this? It was established, I can't remember, 1817 or 1817. Anyway, it went 30 years without a mayor or anything. And then, I don't know what it was, the late 1800s, somebody decided, well, we're getting big enough. We need to have a mayor. So
Yeah.
isn't that interesting? You
it
would have
very, I know like Flowood, Gary Rhodes is the second mayor, period, of Flowood.
Well, it used to be not so terribly long ago. I think that the city hall was in a blue trailer on Flowood Drive.
Wow.
The back way. It was
Yeah.
the secret way that you could, no, don't tell anybody you're going to go from the reservoir downtown. The back way. It's a secret way, as if nobody knows. And of course, now they got a big city hall, and that's 4-lane and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and I think all those kids that lived out there, they all went to Pearl.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been
Before
for-
Northwest Rankin.
Yeah.
came
See, I
around.
would have gone to Pearl had Northwest not
Okay.
been open. Where we lived in Bridlewood. and
Okay.
Grew up. So, yeah, that would have been Pearl.
Wow.
But
Wow,
you have
yeah.
the 39047.
Yeah.
You
As
have
the-
the 39042. Is that confusing for Brandon?
Oh yeah. We were just having a conversation about that.
Yes.
So there's obviously Brandon proper, but like Castlewoods, which is
Yeah, what are they?
39047.
Oh, okay.
They are considered Brandon. Also, but it's not Brandon
kinda.
proper.
Yeah, Brandon
But you
kinda.
can't exactly call downtown Brandon's street department and say, hey, could you come fix my Bradford Drive potholes?
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, you don't live in Brandon. Well, I'm sure this goes on all the time. Well, but I have a Brandon mailing address. Well, that's just a mailing address, ma'am. You don't live in Brandon. Why do I have to have that?
Yeah, well,
you know
it-
why that is, though, by the way? Why that happened, how it happened that we on the Rankin side are Brandon. I have a Brandon, I'm 047. Because when they built the reservoir on the Rankin side, on the other side they had Ridgeland, so that could be
Correct.
your address. But on the Rankin side, what are we going to do with those people? So we got to have a nearby zip code.
Okay.
Well, the only one was Brandon.
Yeah.
Because I think in those days, and this is back in the 1960s, the only thing in Flowood was not even a real city and had busted glass factories.
Yeah, glass factories with piles of glass. And I learned Pearl only incorporated in 1980, right?
That's right.
Oh,
That's
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So all
That's
the
new
042 and 047 predates all of that.
But 042, nowadays, I learned this from Robert Graham, too. He talks about 042. Oh, you're in 047. 042 pretty much is Brandon. 047 is reservoir area.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
that's what if we're in Brandon proper, we call everything outside of the city on that side. We just call it the reservoir,
Which is the proper way to do it.
But I've run into several people who were like, "Hey, I want to vote for you. I want to vote for you." And I think, "Well, where do you live?" And they're like, "Castlewoods." I'm like, "Well,
Sorry.
I appreciate it."
Get into it. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, you're kind of in no man's land, really.
I think that's something that should be taught to people. It should certainly be taught to the news people. A guy one time said, standing here on Spillway Road in Brandon, well, I just about had a fit. I mean,
Yeah.
no.
I've had this conversation so many times, and being from the res, why are we in that area? And it's not this. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I've always thought that it would be great for the res to have its own town center right there across from the old jitney. Got a couple fields and kind of incorporate all that and call it the res.
Yeah.
Well, call it Reservoir City. Have you ever heard that one?
I haven't heard of that.
Oh yeah, some
kinda
people
like
said
that.
Reservoir City,
Yeah.
but then we'd have to be paying taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's like, leave us alone. We're unincorporated. We already have to pay the leasehold.
It's working. It's working.
Just leave us alone. We don't want to get taken in by anybody.
Yeah.
If we did, probably Flowood would be the logical one, though. That's
I would
closer
think
to us
so.
because Brandon. If these people would be smart enough to look at a map, Brandon is way out someplace,
Yeah.
whereas Flowood is right there.
That's right.
We don't want that. But anyway, any plans that you know of to annex anything in Brandon, or do you think you have enough property, enough land, enough space to grow?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I know that there was, some talk of, annexing some parts down 468. I know there was some talk of that, but that's something I would definitely look at. But I would not have any plans to do.
Is the CMCF in Brandon or Pearl?
It's not in. Yeah, I guess it would be considered Pearl, or it's kind of in between. It's not in the city of Brandon.
It's the city of Vans. That
is more accurate.
Vans is in Brandon.
Well, yes, but it's not. Vans is not in the city.
Okay, city limits.
And CMCF is obviously less than a mile away from that. With
But if people don't know what we're talking about, CMCF stands for Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. In other words, the prison.
That's right.
Now, it says only emergency stops allowed through that stream. Like, you dang right. I ain't stopping unless I'm with the director.
It's very close to Whitfield.
Yes, and by the way, when that place was built, I remember this in the legislature when I covered it. I guess CMCF, what became CMCF, was just going to be an intake place. It wasn't going to have prisoners or anything like that. Look at what's happened now. It's a show enough big time prison.
Yeah.
It's all the women and some of the men, right?
Yeah, it's one of the big
pieces,
ones.
It's a big thing.
I've been through the men's part. I didn't go through the women's one yet.
And how long were you incarcerated, sir?
It was, just an afternoon. But I was able to get out quick.
I have not been in there, and that's just as well.
Yeah, I've been invited a few times. I just hadn't been able to go. I'm on the corrections committee, so they,
Oh, really?
I've had they've had a few events out there, and I've had some people reach out to me about trying to get moved from Parchment to there. That I've worked on.
Well, what about, let me ask you that. I wasn't going to flip into legislative stuff, but what are they going to do about Parchment? It should not be closed, I don't think, do you?
Well, you've got to have room for them. I mean, Parchment, it needs some work.
Yeah,
it's obviously
infrastructure work, certainly.
That's a place, they don't even need a fence up there. I don't know how you could escape from there. I don't know where you would go.
I have been there. And I was there for about 3 years. No.
That was a long incarceration.
No, it was not. No, I was up there for a couple of nukings, a couple of death penalties.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did not but I didn't get to see anything.
Okay.
I mean, it's a terrible thing. I mean, to think, well, gee, I went all that way and didn't get to see anything, but I didn't. Yeah. But I went for those, and I saw whatever the offices. That was all I got to see.
Well, one of the things I had talked to Burl Cain about was he was instrumental in doing the prison rodeo in Angola, which I recommend everybody go to. I've been a couple of times, and it's an event, even if you don't like rodeos.
Hey, and you can go watch that on, I can't
Animal
remember.
Planet.
Animal Planet.
Yeah, they just had some on this week, but it wasn't about Burl Cain. It was called Louisiana Law.
Okay.
Oh, there was one. Yeah, there was one. Yeah, that, I've talked with him about doing a rodeo.
Yeah, I want him to.
And I was thinking, but if you watch what goes into all that stuff, like we have a rodeo that comes to town here. Well, the rodeo has all the cattle, they have all their horses and bucking broncos and all this kind of stuff. They have everything contained, and there's room for them at the fairgrounds. But when you're up and we're trying to do a prison thing, you've got to get your cattle from someplace.
Yeah.
You got to get your horses from some other place, and you have to, how you're going to train your riders, your bronco boys and your bull riders and all that kind of stuff. You have to do that. There's a whole lot that goes into it. And when he also, I was going to say, if you watch it, have you ever seen this? During the rodeo, prison personnel are on, the guards and everything. They've got to be on super hyper duty because you don't know who's coming into the rodeo. You don't know what kind of contraband they're bringing in. And you've got to check all these, little stands and everything. I mean, it is a big deal. But he would do it up in Parchment. I said, why would you do it there, not here? He said, well, the land is available up there. And you pull in people from Memphis. People from Jacksonville don't come, but you pull in a big audience from Memphis.
I would most certainly go. If to people who haven't been, when you go to the Angola Prison Rodeo, you need to get there a couple hours early because they have, it's like the prisoners, after they've been on good, because I asked, after they've been on good behavior for like 10 years, they can sell, wallets, paintings, any kind of woodworking things. And they've got, some of them have got real famous. One of the painters sold to Harry Connick Jr.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And you interact with the prisoner, and you can kind of negotiate a price, and then when you pay at like a ticket booth, and it goes to their commissary. And I mean, it was an experience. And then the rodeos after that, and they let 3 of the baddest looking bulls I've ever seen go at one time. It is wild.
Whoa. 3 at once?
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
And the finale, anybody who didn't get hurt, the prisoners, they'll line them up on one side, and they will let just absolutely a humongous bull go, and they will put a chip, like a poker chip, on his head, and it's worth $500 to their commissary, and all they got to do is go grab it.
Oh, wow.
I saw one guy get thrown in the air about 10 feet, and then his boot flew off another 10 feet. I was like, my God, this guy just died. But he didn't.
We got to do our final segment when we come back. Yeah. This hour is flying. It's Mary Wieden and you, and that's Fred Shanks. Willie's the only one of those guys now, you know?
That's it, yeah.
Willie's coming in April, by the way. He's supposed to come. Yeah, how about that?
Is he 90?
Yeah, I think he's over 90 now.
He's eternal.
That's right.
We were talking about him the other day, about his sister, who she has died.
She did. Yeah, that was his keyboardist, right? Or was it drummer?
It started with a B.
Bobby.
That's it.
B-O-B-B-I.
She was a piano player. But you never saw her face.
Okay.
But you said you saw a picture of her, and she looks just like
They look just like each other. She's a little bigger, but, I mean, they had the same braids and everything. You're like, I can see it.
Yeah, really.
I didn't even know he had a sister.
Oh, yeah. Okay, our final segment here with Fred Shanks, wanting to be the mayor of Brandon. And here's from one of our listeners on the thing. A rumor has it that Busick-Well Road is being extended to Highway 18 just south of Brandon High School. Please tell me this is false. I'm in Old Town, and we don't want the added traffic. Okay, Busick-Well, extending to 18. What's the deal there?
Yeah, well, I know exactly what what they're talking about. My mom lives in Old Town, and so I know all about. I actually live kind of right around the corner, so I know all about the traffic. And yeah, I mean, I've not heard that, and I wouldn't be in favor of that either. I know it would be extremely congested right there, but yeah, my mom lives in that same neighborhood, so yeah, I'm aware of that. But I've not heard any rumors of actually connecting the two. Yeah. I haven't.
So, you know, in D.C., the big talk is doing away with the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And, you know, the president thinks that all school districts are wonderful. I guess he hasn't been touring the whole country. But so what I'm wondering is, though, regarding Brandon schools, has anybody checked out what the effect of doing away with the U.S. Department of Education would do to your schools in Brandon? Because you got good schools, and I'm sure you get some federal money. So you have any sense of what that could do?
You know, I talked with the board, our board, pretty regular, and the superintendent, and you know, we've got a good working relationship. I mean, I would have no doubt in my mind that Rankin County School District would be fine. Probably be better under their kind of own leadership. So, but you know, what does that do to school districts that don't form well? You know, I don't know, but I would have no doubt that our schools will continue to do
you do have pretty good family involvement, parental involvement.
Yeah, and to your point, I think that's the absolute main thing that hurts
exactly
bad school districts.
Absolutely. You know, I think they're called bad school districts. Well, I think that's bad teaching, because not all teachers are great. My grandmother was a school teacher, by the way. She taught in the Detroit public schools and lived to tell about it. Wow. She was a pretty amazing. But, you know, she was very dedicated to it and all that. She also got a nice retirement out of it, because they used to have a wonderful retirement for Detroit public schools. But, you know, they're not all good teachers. And I think that when they say bad schools, if you get a good teacher, I don't care if it's a tumble-down building. If you get a good teacher who knows what he or she is doing and is very dedicated to it, you'll have a good result from the kids. It's that, too. You know, you don't have to have shiny bells and whistles. Yeah. It's nice to have it, but if you don't. So now tell me about campaign. How much is this campaign costing you to run for mayor, and how's fundraising going?
It's going good. You know, it's a pretty quick amount of time. April 1st is the primary.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's right around the corner.
It's terrible.
You know, I've been able to, you know, have enough, and you know, I'm not going to try to overdo it.
Have you filed your report? Have you filed a report?
Yeah, we had to file one. Yes. I think it was the end of January. We had to file one. Mm-hmm. You know, but yeah, all that's going okay. Was
Lumumba your consultant on that deal?
Lance, that's going to be an H no right there, buddy.
And all of his stuff was in handwriting. I mean, it was handwritten. It was not.
Yeah, you can do either. But apparently, he's not turned one in for several years.
Well, he did turn one in. He did turn one in this time.
Yeah.
And it was all handwritten. Which seemed kind of strange, but
wow.
what the heck?
Yeah. That's a whole.
It's a whole other.
What was your last count on how many are running for mayor in Jackson?
Oh, I think it's about 20 or 20.
Wow.
It's around
22 to start, but they've whittled it down a bit.
They got rid of Ali Shamsuddin because he didn't live in his district, and they got rid of a woman, Keisha Sanders. She had a felony on her. She used to be in public works or something like that.
She felt
That's
like
right.
she had done her time, and she paid her prices. She's good to go now.
Yes.
Hey, one question. One of our listeners wanted to know where to get a Fred Shanks yard sign.
Well, that's
Oh,
nice.
yeah. I tell you, the best thing, hit me up on Facebook, and I will get you one this weekend. I've got, of
What's
course,
your handle?
Well, Fred Shanks, and I also got Fred Shanks for Mayor Brandon. Either one. Just send me a message on that, and I will absolutely get you hooked up.
Oh, okay. So
I might even have a T-shirt for you.
Do we have printing facilities, I guess, in Jackson or in the area?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have we have one of the largest, probably in the country.
Is it on Lakeland?
That does sign. No, he's out in Hines County, but does signs and print work. And then we've got some in the Florence area. So they're all over. Yeah.
So tell me about economic development for Brandon. Do you have an economic development division?
Currently,
something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anybody currently there. I mean, we have Rankin First though that we all meet with. It's kind of more of a it's all the mayors, board of supervisors, and it's kind of a separate entity itself that's helped with the Marquette area and where the amphitheater is and all
what do you call it? The what?
Rankin First.
No, the facility. What do you call that facility? The A word, what you just said.
Oh, amphitheater.
You said amphitheater. The amps and the amps. I know about those.
Yeah.
But anyway, so do you think that, or would you actively yourself go out and recruit some people?
Absolutely.
Somebody said, hey, I'd like to book something, to Top Golf or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one of my strong points for working in the legislature. My Rolodex goes from Tishomingo down to Harrison County. I've been in contact with hotel developers, restaurant developers, contractors. I've talked to everybody, and I can pick the phone up.
Do it. You can recruit.
Absolutely.
Would you do it? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The big two things I hear our citizens want is they want more restaurants and they want a hotel. And I don't think that'd be a problem. You have liquor now, don't you? We do. It's fairly new in the last couple of years. Yeah, it's been going well. We've got 2 stores that are, one is kind of on my side, which is where Shiloh area, downtown, and then there's one closer to little Cross Gates, and they're both doing really well. We have got more than we need, I think, out at the reservoir. It's kind of ridiculous. Well, y'all are the first. Y'all are the first ones in the county. Pardon? It's a hotbed. Well, it's ridiculous. I called the what do I call it? The feathered cow liquor store. Yeah, that was there. And then there's the Jitney Jungle liquor store. There's the Jitney on Spillway. And then there's one. Oh, I guess it's still there. The converted bank right there across the street. Yeah, you know how to work that. So you go and eat your meal at McDonald's, and then you go and have a little after dinner drink, and then when you get sick, you just go to the drugstore. Sounds like a nice little Tuesday right there. Right you go to the drugstore and get something for your stomach. You can go bowling too. And you can do all that. Throw some axes. Yeah, that's right. Nothing's going to go wrong there. Cool. And then there's another one close by, down near Monty's, I guess. That little shopping center. Yeah, so we got 4 liquor stores. Like, why? In this 1 mile area, it's kind of nutty. So you all are you getting applications that you know of? Maybe we could send somebody down there. Yeah, okay. Just kind of shift them over a little bit. Well, I mean, I don't understand it. I don't think I'll do a show on it, but I don't understand how 4 liquor stores in a 1 mile. Yeah. I don't see how they do well, but they're there. I mean, and that was amazing. Mother's Day of 2011. Mm-hmm. The river was flooding, the Mississippi River was flooding. That's right. But it was the first Sunday that you could have something to drink at a restaurant in Rankin County, Mississippi. And we went down to a restaurant, local restaurant, and it was amazing. It was like, you just feel so sinful drinking mimosas on Sunday. Well, that's kind of that's how you all must have been. Yeah, I mean, you would go over to State Street to the liquor store there, and who would you see? You would see everybody from Rankin County in there. Yeah, we go to Spillway Road. You go to those places over there, and the other side of Spillway Road. Because it kept getting voted down, and but the people you knew were voting against it are over there. Absolutely. So why not get the tax money out of it? And for the reservoir, it made a whole lot of sense. We did vote to become a resort area. That's right. Well, if there was anybody who was going to be a resort area, I would think it would be the reservoir. Yeah, but, anyway, so you would recruit people though. Absolutely. For your you want restaurants.
restaurants, other kinds of businesses, or does it matter? Or
No. But I mean, I look. I believe that I can sit down and work something out with anybody. That's one of my strong points, putting together something, projects, things like that, but just trying to work it out, sit down, talk to folks. But, I mean, I've already talked to several people and would continue to do that, absolutely.
By the way, back to the money part, you said you got good money, but how much have you got? How much you taken in? You must know, but you can share that with us because we'll find out anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm around $10,000.
That's it?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. But I'm okay.
Okay. You got is any of it your own money, or you?
Yeah, I do.
Some of it's your own, and
no. I mean, I have some.
But I mean, donation money.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Well, that's pretty good. So,
yeah, I just, I don't feel right really asking for a lot because I'm currently in the legislature right now. I don't want to, anything funny going on. So
that is
I'm
hard.
okay.
That is hard,
Yeah.
to do this campaign when the legislature's still going. And you got, maybe a week or so to campaign actively before the primary, maybe. If
It's
you
coming
sign
right
it
up.
on pretty soon.
Yeah.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm just kind of fitting it in right now.
Well, so you are ready. We asked Kenneth Stokes why he was going to run for mayor, and his son said, "Don't, it'll kill you." And so he's not running. But you don't have that feeling. You have no. That's going to be
I'm up
the
for
right
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I do.
So you have a challenger in the mayor, by the way. Mayor Butch Lee will be on this program next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be taking good care of Brandon on this program.
There you
go. So what else? Your final thing. Got 30 seconds maybe to say your final thing to the audience here.
Oh, just, if anybody would like to, ask me any more questions or anything, I'll be glad to talk to anybody. And like I said, you can hit me up on Facebook, and I'll be glad to give you a call or come meet with you either way. And just glad to be here. And thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Nice to meet you. All right, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a good weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday with Butch Lee, the mayor of Brandon.
Life's a hard road.